Now, we've looked at the metapiece, we've looked at the pediment. We're going to look at the interior frieze. The frieze was a decorative sculpted element that lined the inside walls of the exterior. What? What are you talking about, Miss Cortez? Okay, well, I will show you the map or the floor plan of it, but this artwork, this large artwork, is called the Panathenaic Festival Procession Frieze. And let me find my floor plan. Hold on. The walls that make up the pronaos, naos, and epinaos of the temple, they had on the top of those walls the frieze that we're going to look at here. Let's go back and analyze the artwork that remains, and then how to read it in terms of its connection to the structure of the temple. Back at it. So it's called the Panathenaic Festival Procession Frieze, and it lines the walls of the naos, way up high. I like this image to remind you that they would have been brightly painted. The event that's being depicted here is an actual event that happened every 4 years in Athens. It's in the title, or it's in the way that we describe it, Panathenaic Festival. Pan means all, Athens, so all Athens festival, party, procession, parade. It was an event. It was every 4 years. All the people who were under the control of the city-state of Athens gathered together and presented the goddess with gifts, tributes, treasures, artworks, bolts of cloth, olive oil, wine, exotic goods from far. And this procession was a parade through the city streets of Athens that would end or culminate with the depositing of the gifts in the Acropolis itself. Here's a map showing you the procession in ancient Greek times. So it started outside the city gates, and then as it wound its way through the main city square, it would gather up more and more people and more gifts, and then up in the temple complex, the gifts would be deposited at the altar. There was also believed to have been a statue of Athena herself that was ancient even in those times, and she would be brought out and then redressed and presented with the offerings, different from the cult statue that was inside of the Parthenon. So this Panathenaic festival happens every 4 years and deposits the gifts at the altar for the goddess to receive. It is a moment in which the gods break through the boundaries of heaven and earth to receive the gifts from the Athenians, specifically when Athena receives the gift. And here in this diagram, it's showing you the walls of the interior naos and the frieze, how we're supposed to read it from west to east. We start in the west with the riders, men on horseback, who are gathering up people and the momentum of the day outside the city gates. And then we see the riders become more and more frequent as we move further to the east. And then there are added to their numbers people in chariots who carry the bolts of cloth and vats of oil and wine. And then we add to them the celebration, the celebratory people, the musicians, the cattle, the sheep, the elders of Athens. So we're bringing in the sheep and the cattle; those are to be sacrificed at the altar. And then we see women of high-ranking officials. We see the heroes of Athens, and then the gods themselves show up. And then here, where it says Peplos, this is where the Athenians would present the ancient statue of Athena with a new peplos, a new robe, a new set of clothes. So we read it from west to east, and it culminates with the arrival of the gods and the exchanging of gifts to Athena, presentation of gifts to Athena. Here we are. So this is the start of the procession. As I said, these are horseback riders who are running through and whooping and hollering, and they're trying to get everybody jazzed up for this parade. And then as we approach to the temple, you see the people in attendance, the priestess, the priests, all very stationary, very still. Let's read it again. Here, this is a portion of the frieze that's at the British Museum. So we see the start of the procession, and we see these two young men. This man's shirtless. His toga has been draped to reveal his chest as he's rearing up his horse. This man here, nude, but he has a cape. And to help us understand that he's running through the streets, getting attention, his cape is kind of starting to fly behind him. He lips back because what's gone is that his hat has flown off. He was probably wearing a straw hat of a shepherd boy, and it's fallen back, and so he's turning around. But it also gives us this beautiful twist forwards and backwards, right? And then, look at the number. More men gather as they ride. You see the layering of the horses. So we now know that they're bunched up together. There's more of them gathering in numbers. Woo, 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 yeah, let's do this. Here come the gifts to Athena. These men are not running, but carefully holding these heavy jars of liquid gold, olive oil. And then we see the riders dismount, right? They're getting down off their horses, because now we are coming to the part where we have the ceremony. Here we have priestess to Athena who are standing in attendance. Here's another view of attendance as they wait respectfully for Athena. And then here, it seems anticlimactic, but we don't have an image, a very well preserved image of the gods. But here is the portion of the frieze, and here is a representation or drawing of what we believe they were doing. So here we have the gods, and they're sitting in these chairs, and they're watching or looking at something. We believe this figure here to be Aphrodite, and the young boy, the nude young boy next to her, is her son. His name is Eros, or the Romans would call him Cupid, god of love. And he stands next to his mother, and she leans with her arm resting on his shoulder, and she's pointing. But she's supposed to be, what we believe that she's pointing at, is she's pointing at the people of Athens. She's saying, look, Eros, look at what they have brought her. Look at how good those Athenians are. Look at how well they worship Athena. We know these to be the gods because they are, well, in relation to the other figures we've seen, they're big. They're, in order to fit into the same height as the people occupy this frieze at one level, right? They all seem to fit nicely from head to toe. But these figures, in order to fit within that same space, have to sit. It's a term called bigger is more important, hierarchic scale. So the gods are bigger, and in order to sit and share the space with the Athenians, they have to sit down. Did you hear what I said? I said that the gods get to share the space with the Athenians. Shouldn't it be the other way around? That the Athenians get to share the space with the gods? This frieze is a proclamation of Athenian superiority, and not everybody's going to be happy with this. Like I said, During this time, they're taking money from the Delian League treasury. People are calling this massive construction the Painted Whore. And then when they see these things, or they hear about these things, like the frieze having Athenians occupying the same space as gods, they're like, who are you and what do you think you're doing that you can occupy the same space as the gods? Ugh! Athenians are the worst. Oh, goodness. Now, obviously, I want you to see the Parthenon. I want you to visit it. I want you to take selfies. But it's not easy to get to Greece. So maybe you can get yourself to Nashville? What? I know. Yeah. The Parthenon is built to scale in Nashville, Tennessee. How did it end up there? Tennessee built it to commemorate their 100-year anniversary in 1897. The reason that they chose the Parthenon, well, this is at a time when in the late 1800s we see increased interest in ancient Greek and Roman structures and buildings. Also in this region of the South, we see often parallels with the ancient world, like the Mississippi being the Nile, things like that. So here, the Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee is a building and you can enter it, unlike the original, and they have a life-size copy of Phidias's cult statue of Athena. Yeah. And you can rent out the space. So, I mean, if you want to celebrate a graduation, I think you should call and make reservations. And then obviously invite me so that we can all party in the Parthenon. In 2019, one of my students called and asked for the pricing, and it was $5,000 just to rent the space for a Saturday, and it was $4,500 for a Sunday. So, you know, in case you had any extra cash you wanted to spend, you can do that.